Hi everyone. So today I have a lot to show you. I'm restocking the Etsy shop, and the journals should be there right now when you are watching this. Link is underneath the video, and let's get into this because I've got about 20 journals to show you. So we have these blue lacy ones. That lace is really old. It's from my baby wrap thing. So that's the blue lace. Obviously it was white. Then we have vintage fabrics, cheesecloth. Here you can see the mesh. Vintage lace again. Everything is tea dyed. This is embroidery, machine embroidery that I did. Here is embroidered moth, and the back is hand printed and rusted linen, printed with Queen Anne's lace, another moth with rusted fabric, rest of the lace. Then we have this blue binding, and inside is printed pocket and designer papers, vintage book pages, dyed papers, vintage typewriter page. This is glassine paper that I dyed. So this is glassine paper I printed. There is a lot of prints that I made, handmade prints, all originals, no copies, no book page copies. Every book page is original. Every print is my own work. Everything is vintage or handmade, and the papers are hand dyed. These bread pages are vintage, beautiful. Papers are hand dyed to match the book, the theme. This is print on glassine. This is screen print, and this is my print on rusted fabric. It's made with acrylic paints, mushrooms, all tea-dyed papers, loads of pockets, loads of spaces to put things, loads of places to write, all different papers, lined, dotted, vintage book pages, nature themed, fabrics, Vincent van Gogh designer papers, vintage map page, pocket, and here we have some corals. Here is a print on fabric, beautiful vintage fabric with rusting and my own print. Another print on glassine, parchment paper, pocket, birds, bird clip, all vintage book pages. Here this envelope I made with modeling paste, so when you touch it you can feel the moth. Modeling paste and some acrylic paint and coffee. Obviously that's gonna be glued together. And vintage sewing book, vintage bird book, parchment paper pocket, and eco print, original eco print on watercolor paper. So that's one book. It has a closure. everything is, the ends are finished, so it doesn't keep unraveling. And that's that. So there is 4 of these, and I will show you them. So the first one has a chamomile flower. This one has a dandelion embroidery, 2 moths, hand printed. This is all sewn. These pebbles are all sewn in the fabric. It's all embroidery, moth, printed Queen Anne's lace, binding, bookmark with ceramic bead, dandelions, and the vintage lace, cheesecloth. Yeah, so that's the second. Sorry. This is the third. And here we have a moth with blue wings, and here is the print, rusted fabric, embroidery, some embroidered plants, and moth. Obviously there is still threads. I'm trying to do this video, but they are all finished and they all be cleaned up by the time they come to you. And this is the last one. I think this is dock leaf, maybe. Big moth. You can see the print is coming through the mesh, cheesecloth mesh. And here is the print. It's a vintage fabric jelly print. So that's 4 of those. Insides are very similar. There are some original book pages, vintage papers, tea dye papers, coffee dye papers, and obviously my prints on fabric, on paper. You see this beautiful eco print, this print on glassine. So they are, and this print on vintage linen with rusting. So they are similar inside, same amount of book pages, same amount of prints, but they are different because everything is original, everything is just one of the kind, so they are not the same. So the second lot is 5 of these night journals. I call them Night Forest, and here we have sorry, I'm just like really not comfortable. Right. Here is here is jelly print that I made. Another jelly print on this mesh that it's layered onto the print underneath. It's all fabric layers. Here we have hand-dyed wool that is made into a moth. Here is some crochet fabric and cheesecloth sewn in there. So there are layers and layers, and this is all the blue and dark tones because it's night time. So this is what the cover looks like. Oh, here is a blue jelly print on linen. So this is what the cover looks like. So you can see it's like a scene from a nighttime meadow or something. And if you like my original prints, then these are the ones that have the most. So hand printed pocket. Everything is hand printed. Here is the moth envelope with the modeling paste. By the way, the moth is printed into the modeling paste, so it's like embossed. but it's yeah, and I made the stamp from lino. I carved it. So here is a beautiful peacock feather, glassine paper, hand print, all original prints. This is all original work, no copies. So all these prints are made by me, vintage book pages that match the journals. All papers are dyed, hand dyed, also by me. It's this stamp is carved. I carved this stamp and made the design, and then I printed it with gold ink onto black card pocket. Fabric print. I'm sorry about all these threads. That will all be cleaned up. I'm just, yeah, left them there. Here, parchment paper. So if you like the printing, another my stamp with gold, and if you like dark blue, and I love how these fern match the papers, and if you like vintage papers and bats and mushrooms and forest nightlife, this is eco print on watercolor paper. So if you are here for my hand printing and my original work, then these ones are full of it, full and beautiful, absolutely stunning vintage pages, book pages. Pocket. So I tried to pick book pages that are blue themed, another fabric pocket, or this is a print that I made. This is, I tried to pick book pages that are blue themed or have night animals or night plants like moths, bats, you know, stuff like that. Here is paper, tissue paper, ironed. The plant is ironed in between two layers of tissue paper with beeswax, sealed beeswax, and it's made into a pocket. So that's a real plant specimen, tried. Here is more of my prints. This, the paper and the bats, the colors match really well. I love it. This book page is really old, really vintage. It feels very vintage. It's like this chalky surface. It's lovely. And here is my print, some moths and plants printed, and owl. Like I said, I'm trying to pick night stuff. Mushrooms always grow at night, so that's perfect. Another print. Prints are on textiles and on paper. Fern print. Another fern print, owl. Another glassine paper print, envelope, beautiful birds, colorful birds, vintage fruit page from fruit book after my granddad, flip, double pocket from some black print, nature forms print, and last one. So they are pretty heavy on prints, these books, so I'll show you the covers. So here we have really nicely rusted fabric and the print is in it, and here we have some sewing, some embroideries, layering. This is what the whole cover looks like. Many layers, a lot of printing, moths, embroideries. It's got the hand-printed textile and paper. It's got the peacock feather on the pocket, owl, more prints, designer paper printing, more hand printing, beautiful mushroom page, more prints, and so on. So, and all the ends of the signature bindings are finished with something, so it's not just threads hanging. Here is another of these covers. They are quite busy, but I think they work out well. It's like magical night forest, you know. I always imagine like things come out at night, like fireflies, moths, and different colors. And there is 5, so there is 5 of these. Oh, this one is gorgeous as well, if I say so myself. So that's that. And now we have got sort of summer meadows, summer daytime. So there is 3 journals like this. I do have to finish these envelopes, and this is not a mistake. This is a file folder sticking out, because that's how it is. You can cut it off if you don't want it. And here is the tie. So it just has a 1 tie, and it has 3 embroidered and painted moths and butterflies there. Lots of cheesecloth, vintage and tea-dyed cheesecloth, vintage and tea-dyed crochet fabric and lace. Here more vintage and tea-dyed lace, printed linen, more printed linen, and embroidery. Bulrushes or cattails, that's what they are called here. They grow in the water, so that's them. More vintage lace, more cattails embroidered into it. Here is embroidered heron and different pieces of fabric, net curtain, really thick canvas, cheesecloth, crochet fabric, and this is hand embroidered on a machine. More prints. This here is embroidered French moths into the print, and rustin. That's a big pocket. 3 signatures on these. Usually I do 5 signatures. Now we have 3. Beautiful pocket with real grass sewn into it. Print and a grass. Parchment paper, book page, pink lined paper. These pages are orange, pink, vintage book page from 1800s, with a poem from Sir Walter Scott, eggplant, aubergine. So you can see the colors are oranges, pinks, yellows. It's summery, more spring towards summer. Vintage pages. This is beautiful eco-printed fabric made by a girl in Slovakia. She's very talented, beautiful. And here is designer paper, book pages, more of the poem. See, I tried to match the pages, the book pages, to the colors that I chose for these books. Here is canvas printed by me. Here is a pocket with tea-dyed grungy paper, coffee dyed, and some grasses sewn onto it, real grasses, and an envelope with the modeling paste and a moth. More prints, different papers, very vintage book page again, beautiful vintage book page. Vintage cookbook. You can use these journals for anything, garden, home, anything you want. Pocket, prints. This is the glassine paper. Here is a pocket that I printed with my own block stamps. Vintage map. Vintage bird page. Moss. And another print. And an eco print and sunflowers by Van Gogh. So here is the other one. There is 3 of these. They all have bookmarks with a ceramic bead to match. Bookmark is attached in there. 3 signatures, prints, embroideries, moths painted and embroidered. And there is 3 of these, and I don't know where the third one is. It's here. So this one, they all have bulrushes, embroidered, and similar pieces of fabric, similar design. And similar but different pages inside. Oh, look at that vintage. Look at that vintage page. Because everything is again original, made by me or taken from vintage books. And now we have 4 of these pink moths, I call them. So these are also summary. They have closure like this. They have beads on the end of the signature strings. They also have a bookmark with pink ceramic bead, and here is the cover. So there is embroidered plants. I think this is like cowslip that I embroidered on there. We've got vintage fabric, we've got vintage lace, we've got printed fabrics, linens, vintage linens, printed, rusted, see the rust. And we've got vintage lace, and we've got moths that I made and sewn on here. So we've got vintage, everything is vintage linen. So 3 moths, Queen Anne's lace, and different other plants from the meadows, from the gardens. And inside again, here is a printed pocket, textile. Here with a seed head. Here are some grasses. Textile pocket again. Book pages and flips. Vintage book page. Well, they are all vintage, but this one I couldn't find the date, and that usually means it's old. And it's so beautifully printed, and it feels so old that it definitely is older than vintage, maybe antique. So here, mushrooms, Sir Walter Scott, little bird page from the Little Book of Birds, another book of birds. Here is another printed pocket. Here is a pocket made out of book page. Here is eco print. So loads of pockets, loads of crinkly glassine paper, some parchment paper, book pages, lined paper, yellow, squared, vintage cooking book. Here another textile pocket with a print. So everything is, all these prints are my work, no copies. This is a screen print. Loads of nature, loads of plants, loads of craft book here. I love how this matches with this pocket. Here that is printed with textile inks with a lino that I made, and this is a jelly print sewn on it. There is loads of sewing in each book, and loads of papers and pockets, and vintage strawberry page. Oh, and these ones have this original art, this textile art that I made at this textile landscape, summer textile landscape. So it's made out of all different fabrics and grass, real grass. So that's quite pretty. Here is another of those envelopes with modeling paste with a moth, pergament paper, like an onion skin paper. Ooh, bird. Here, this is made with filler and more of my own linos with white ink. So it's like black ink, blue textile color filler, so it gives you texture like a wall, like an old wall or something. Yeah, I played with different textures, vintage map, vintage. I played with different textures, stamping materials, carving stamps, building materials like filler and texture paste, sort of give it like ceramic or wall texture. I painted these fabrics, these canvases, hand painted them, hand painted these moths. Yeah, a lot of work. So here I will show you this one. So this one is more white. Here we have again the bulrushes. This one is more white and blue. This one is also lighter. This one has a dandelion and prints and bookmark. And this one is darker again, so that means this one has dark and light stripe, and this one has light and dark stripe. So this has beautiful rusting, and this has the beautiful Payne's grey paint that I use for my prints. 5 signatures, so about 200 pages. And then, back by popular demand, always back by popular demand, but for last time, this time definitely for last time, possibly definitely last time, 4 of these winter journals, winter landscape journals with heron, and there is 4 of them. This one has a pheasant, and if you want to see what they look like inside, then there is a video somewhere on YouTube, somewhere underneath this video, not too far, is a video of how these look inside. They might look slightly different because obviously I don't have exactly the same materials. They are toned blue. They are similar. They have beautiful textile handmade landscapes, but you can see those on the video I already made. So if you want to see them, or if you want to buy one, please have a look at the video. These have artworks as well. So thank you very much, and they should be on Etsy now, and I will see you soon, hopefully. Bye.